Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mobile App Academy. This is our live building series where we show you how to build and configure mobile apps on the Now platform. My name is David Ha, and I'm an outbound product manager here at ServiceNow. And I'll be your host for today's session. And I want to give you a warm welcome for joining us here live today. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to the session. Our product experts are here to provide guidance, best practices, and answer any questions that come up along the way. And we do host these academies every 2 weeks at 10 a.m. Pacific, in which our recordings will be posted to YouTube on the ServiceNow Now community channel. And just to point you to a few resources that we do have available. If you're new to mobile, we recommend that you check out some of these resources, such as our mobile guidebooks, white papers that can all be found on our mobile community site. And we do have a plethora of other resources, such as our labs and mobile trainings on Now Learning, and then our past playlist to all previous app academies, where you can find sessions like mobile agent quick start guides, getting started with Now Mobile, and I believe now over 40 other academies as well. And if you do like sessions like these, our ServiceNow teams do host other academies, such as the HR Service Delivery, Platform Foundation, Platform Analytics, Virtual Agent, and many others. And you can find these series in their respective communities by navigating to the community forum tabs. Okay. And just to remind you on the agenda for today's session, this is the last session in our 3-part skill building series, where we show you how to build your own custom apps from scratch. And again, this session, we will be playing a pre-recorded video due to the fact that there are so many moving configurations and parts. And we just want to make sure that all these configurations can be done and captured within a 50-minute recording. But we will definitely take any questions that do come up along the way. Okay. So this is our part 3 in our series, in which we will now be deep diving into push notifications. Part 1 was how to define your data and build screens. Part 2 is how to build functions from scratch. And now this very last piece, we're going to be covering push notifications. And for push notifications today, we'll be covering how to build your push messages, push layouts and links, and how to cover common troubleshooting tips as well. And just a reminder that we're continuing to build a custom skills management app from scratch. Last week, Ian built some actions that allow your agents to manage their skill sets. And this week, we'll be creating push notifications that will trigger anytime new tasks are assigned to agents that's associated with adding new skills to a user. Okay. And just a quick reminder that we are building this on a San Diego instance. And the goal here with our series is to teach you the fundamentals on how to build push notifications from scratch. That way you can add them to your own apps using Mobile App Builder. And we will be posting an article on community after the series ends with all the different update sets. So if you want to access the data that we use to build this series, then you can leverage that for your own training. And that's going to be available on community as well. Okay. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do a new share now and start the replay of this recording.
Okay, so before we get started with the configuration, let's just do a quick review of the components of a push notification on mobile. If you look at this picture here, you can see that within the ServiceNow client, we have the notification record that shows up. This is the push notification message content that's going to drive this. This is what's going to allow you to build a layout for this list of notifications in the mobile client, and also define the link that the user is going to get to in terms of the screen they're going to get to when they tap the notification. The push notification message itself is going to be the actual message that gets received, so within the device's notification center. So it's just important to understand that we need to build both of these as we create our push notification. Okay, so let's jump into our instance and go ahead and set up a new push notification. So you're going to want to make sure, first of all, that if you type push into the navigation filter here, that you look for the push options under system notification rather than system mobile. So I'm going to click on create push notification because that's what I want to do. So just thinking back about our app, we have the ability to create a new skill, and also we can identify that we've learned a skill and or already have a skill, and that's going to create a task for the approver that we define, which by default is going to be our manager. So we'd like this person to know, to be informed that they have something to review. So let's create a push notification for that. So we can call it skill requires review. And we can select our mobile skill submission table. For the when to send, this could be assigned to the approver based on an existing task being updated, or when we create a new task, it goes straight into review. So I'm going to select both inserted and updated for that situation. And for the condition, I'm going to select where the state changes to in review. And also, it's possible that the assignee, meaning the approver, reassigns this task to someone else. So in order to capture that, we'll add an or clause here, and we'll say where the state is in review and the assigned to changes. So that should be good for a start for our when to send. The who to receive, we're going to want to look for users, groups, and fields and select that assigned to field. And then we get to our what to send. So we're going to need to create a new push message for this. So we can click our lookup and click new to select a new push notification message. And we can call this skill to review notification message. Now for the app, this one is important because we're going to need to tie our push notification message to this specific mobile client that we want to receive the notification for. So in this case, we're using the agent app. So if we were to start typing here, we have so just type ServiceNow, and it's going to give you the request application or the mobile application or the classic. We want mobile application because that's the agent client. Request would have been now mobile. So we'll select this. And for the table, we're going to again select our mobile skill. Mobile skill submission table. And the push message content we'll get to in a minute. That's going to be where we're going to define the actual layout of that particular push notification. But we can go ahead and make the message, and I'm going to copy and paste here, something like this. So skill review task, and we can add the number has been assigned to you, and we can also include the state and short description, which should be the new skill name or the skill being reviewed. So let's go ahead and, so we can't click the lookup right now for the message content. However, we can do that after we submit. So let's go ahead and submit that. And then we'll also right click and save on our notification record. And once that's saved, we can go ahead and open it and click on it and click this preview selected item information icon to open the push message. So we've got our message here, we set up. We need to do our push message content now. So let's do the lookup and click new. Make this a little bigger for us, and we can call this skill to review message content. And again, our push app, if we type ServiceNow, we can select ServiceNow mobile application, so we get agent. And here we're going to open this up a little bigger because I'm going to paste in a script here that we can review together. We'll also include this in the chat as well as in together with the recorded video if you're looking at that. So here we got our a push message content here. So let's review how this works. First of all, in order to build our layout for the push message record that's going to show up in app, we can use our notification layout field generator class, which is available. And in here, we're going to give an identifier. So, that's going to be the number of the task in this case. And a description, we'll use the short description from the record. And also a state, which is going to be our in review in this case. Next, we're also going to need to build our link to the actual record. And for that, we need to know two things, really. We need to know the mobile client type. So in this case is agent. So we're just going to set a variable client type to agent and then use it for our mobile deep link generator later on. The second thing is the screen ID. So this is going to be the sys-ID of the record screen that a tap from the notification should take us to. And how I got that, very simple. I'll show you in a second because we should really save this before we move away from this record. Once we have those two pieces of information, we need to use the deep link generator in order to create that link from the notification through to the screen. So the function call we're going to use is get form screen link. We're going to pass in that screen ID. We're also going to pass in the table name, which we can get from the current object, the sys-ID, which we can also get from the current object. And since we opened this deep link generator with the client type, it's going to know that it's for agent. This last bit is how the layout is actually created. We can configure the sound. In this case, we have a default sound. The link is going to be the link for here. From here that we generated using mobile link generator, and we'll add to our layout these fields that we generated using our layout field generator. In this case, the state and the identifier, which again is going to be the number for the task. So let's make sure that that's saved for now. And we can close out of this pop-up. And this didn't save into our field here, but we can add it now that it's actually been created, and right-click Save. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to need to review how that sys-ID for the screen is determined. So basically what we need to do is we look back at our app and look, for example, at a skill. So I tapped on a skill from the skills I want. And so this is indicating to me that the name of the screen is the skills I want record. Now it's probably not the final production name that we'd go with, but it helps us to navigate around while we're learning the app. So if we were to find the screen either in our platform view or, for example, in mobile app builder, we can click our overflow icon and open that in platform to jump to it. And from here, we can copy this sysid. So if we click back to our push notification message content, this should be the same number, same sysid, and it is. Okay, now the next thing we need to do before we do a test within the app is we need to make a conscious decision as to would we like users to have to opt in to this particular push notification, or do we want them to receive it by default? What I mean by opting in is if we look at our platform view and open up our profile and preferences from here, we can get this pop-up menu here that's going to allow us to get to our notifications. And if we look at our core UI tab for our notifications, we should be able to see once this loads that we have a new skill to review push notification, which is here, skills requires review. If we open this one up, we can see that by default here, these aren't checked. And under ServiceNow mobile application, I could, as a user, check this to indicate that I want to receive this notification. However, if we want the users to receive it by default, as most of you likely would, we would need to go into our push application record, which we can find under push application in the navigation modules. And the one we're looking for, if we look at the display name again, is ServiceNow mobile application, because ServiceNow request application is now mobile, and this one is agent. So if we open this up, we should see a related list here for push default registrations and push message contents. Now, the specific one that we added should already be here under push message contents, which is great. But under our default registrations, that's where we're going to need to add a new record because we won't find it here by default. If you don't have this related list, by the way, then you can just right-click, configure related lists to add it in there and look for push default registrations. So if we click new here and look for that notification, skill requires review, and submit this, now at this point we should have all the basics set up for our push notification to work. So let's test it out within the app. So probably the easiest thing to do here would be to go back to our main screen, and we'll just tap on our quick action to create a new skill. And in this case, I'm just going to put the user that I'm currently logged in as the approver, just to make sure that I can receive this notification without having to log out and log back in again. So let's get next, click next. Obviously, it's not a real test if I'm putting myself as the approver. And in fact, we might want to add something to our action to prevent somebody from doing just that. But it works well for the purposes of our unit testing right now. So let's make our skill here push notification master. Tap next, and we can give it a description like watch the Mobile Academy, so therefore it knows everything. And we'll go ahead and submit this. Now this skill, new skill, is pending review. And so at this point, we should receive the push notification shortly on the mobile device. Now, if we don't, there's a few things that I would suggest to check. So first of all, if we look at the system properties, sys_properties.list in the navigator, and look for push. Push glide.push.enabled should be true. So that's one obvious thing to check. Another is to make sure that you've logged out and logged back in for that user on the mobile device. And a third thing to check, probably the best thing to check related to push notifications, would be to look at the push notification log here. So if we click on this, and we can just add to here our updated and updated by, so we can make sure we're looking at the most recent one. As the push notifications are generated and go out, we should see these go out into this log, and we should be able to click on these records and see what the payload was and what platform it was sent to. So in my case, Apple here, what application it was for. So again, the agent app, and what is the type, meaning is it a failure, is it pending, or is it success? So based on the fact that it's success here, this is telling me that it has gone out to Apple to be able to send to me. Now, sometimes these push notifications appear almost instantly, and other times they can take a couple minutes to come into the device. So that appears to be what's happening to me here. So while that's waiting to come in, I can just show you a trick to look at the payload in a little nicer format. So what I often do is I will select this whole payload and just open up and Google search for JSON lint. And this is a website where you can just paste in a JSON object and validate the JSON looks correct, and then also take a look at that in a lot more nicer format. So I can see what my alert body should be, and I can look at the device token, the layout, make sure the instance is correct, look at the link that comes in, and the mobile request ID. So I can see now that my push message has come in. So from a device notification perspective, I can see I just made my notifications persist so it would stay on the screen. If you tap and hold on it, it would show you the entire text of the message. So in this case, it's just everything that I had under push message. And if I was to look under more, I can tap through to my notification screen, and I can see that I have a new notification here that's unread. I can see across the top my layout in terms of putting in the state and the number, how many seconds ago since that message was received, and of course the message itself. If I tap it, then I'm going to be taken directly to that particular record. And so reflecting back on our target for today, we were able to understand the difference between a push message or the alert on the device and the layout of the actual notification record within the client. We were able to fully build out a message, including a layout and link to the record that the user needs to review. And we were able to do a little bit of debugging and understand how and where we can look if things are not quite working as they should. And at this point, after 3 relatively quick sessions, we've been able to build out the basics of a mobile app, including screens and sections and functions, as well as push notifications to round it out. And with that, I'll send it back to David to wrap things up and take any questions.
So that pretty much wraps up our 3-part series in our custom app building series. Ian's taking us through an entire custom app, and hopefully you found that helpful. I'm not seeing any questions roll in at the moment, so we can probably wrap up. This was a very short academy today, but just want to fill you in on our next academy agendas. We're going to now start in our next few academies. We're now going to start exploring how we can uptake the latest San Diego features to improve your mobile apps. So if you actually want us to explore any specific topics, a great way to share feedback with us is to let us know in our post-session survey. I did see one question roll in on asking about doing a deeper dive into mobile filters. I do want to point out that mobile filters is going to be revamped, and we noticed that it doesn't quite have everything that you would need to completely configure it. So we've filled in the doc team, and that will be updated at some point. But again, if you do want to see other concepts for us to explore, we love getting feedback, and we want to make sure that these topics are relevant to you each week. So please let us know in the survey. And if you're interested in any of our past mobile app academies, we do record these and upload them to YouTube. So make sure to check them out on the community site, to subscribe to our community forum, and you'll get notifications on the latest updates on future app academies. Okay. And I think that's it. Okay. So with all that being said, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again in 2 weeks at our next academy. Thanks, everyone.